talk about JavaScript, which is a very easy to learn language, and yet it can be a tyrant, and it can give you bad nightmares about how to solve when you get stuck. You will get nightmares. Oh God, I have not solved this. My JavaScript is not running. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about JavaScript, our friendly web programming language. So, as I said, you will see this language coming up in your course. It's part of the curriculum in India, but as I said, it's one of many in curriculum. But when you go to work, this will be very relevant because JavaScript is everywhere today. There is no place you will see that's not having JavaScript. So much so, Firefox has developed an OS where even mobile apps are going to run only on JavaScript. So, so that's what you will see. So let's get into the history and where JavaScript came from. See, every language was designed to solve a particular problem. So when you learn programming language, it's not just learning about the syntax of that language. That is very easy to pick up. But you need to understand where the language came from, what it was designed for, so you can use it to the maximum efficiency of that language. You can enhance, you can bring out the beauty of that language. So in that line, we are going to see what JavaScript was initially designed to ensure that the web pages on that came out in the 90s, to make them a little more interactive. They wanted rather than just showing a screen of text, they wanted to be able to do a little more. Say if you click something, something should happen, or the person who's reading the text should be able to interact with the text. That was the idea, that was the motivation to develop JavaScript. So initially it was only to make HTML dynamic. So that's where JavaScript came from initially. Okay, so the idea was to make it HTML++, a little more than HTML. What can you do to make the user a little more interactive rather than dumb reading? So, I did something wrong. Okay, from there to now, today, the situation is that JavaScript is an necessary evil, if I can say so. So, as I said, you need to be developing apps and stuff like that. Initially it was designed to run on the browser. It was for the browser so that people who are reading an HTML page can interact with it. But today, JavaScript has grown phenomenally in the last 10 years, at least from what I know. So JavaScript has grown a lot. So from being just interactive HTML pages and making pages pretty. Okay, so from making it like a cosmetic makeup for a HTML page, today it has become an app development language and a platform. So that is what is the status of JavaScript today. That is the importance of JavaScript. All this talk I am doing because I want to set the importance. How is JavaScript relevant in today's world? So what happened from developing web pages, we went on to having sites where you have many pages that go into one site. And from that, we moved on to web apps where you're not interacting with the page, but the web page is actually an entire application. So that is Web 2.0 is in part all about developing applications on the web, entire applications not on your computer but on the web. So that's what it went to web apps. But now the next curve is from web apps to mobile apps, and JavaScript is entering that space as well, which is what I said earlier about Firefox developing an OS. Firefox is going to become an OS itself. I don't know how much it will succeed, but that's what they are working on. And so you write an HTML page and you can run that as an app in your Firefox phone. That is what they are targeting. So that's where JavaScript is heading to.
I'm not
so
sure
that
how
is.
can do that. There's a way then you could do it, but I don't have
So
any
let's get to
take
the.
video that
Now lots of talk has happened. Let's get to the. Let's let the rubber hit the road. So JavaScript is a very easy-going language. You will, for those those who started programming C and Java, you will find that JavaScript is very easy, has very less number of rules, and hence the entry barrier is very low. You can easily start with, if you spend 3 hours one fine day, you can, after 3 hours you can become you can call yourself a beginner JavaScript programmer. So that's all you need to spend time to get in. So JavaScript has a very low entry barrier to get in. And the thing is, it's an interpreted language, so you don't have to compile the program every time to run, and hence it's faster to start writing programs in JavaScript. So as I was saying, that it has less number of rules. The most important thing that you need to know about JavaScript is that it's a very loosely typed language. So now I want to have a pop quiz right now. How many of you have studied C? So raise your hands. How many of you have by-hearted all the data types that C offers? How many of you know what is the specialities of each and every data type that the language C offers? Okay. One name, so many. Okay. Okay, let's move to Java. So how many of you have programmed in Java first? How many of you know all the data types in Java? No one. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that Java and C have a lot of rules about how you can use that, handle data in your programs. Those rules are very specific and they go into great detail. Whereas in contrast, JavaScript gives you very less number of rules. First step to begin with, first step, you get into any language, you say, what data can I handle with this? Enna panna mudiyum with string. So the first step is to know the data types. So the data types are very less in JavaScript, and which makes it's called loosely typed language, and that is one of the reasons I said the entry barrier into JavaScript is very low. So that is one of the salient features of JavaScript, that it is a loosely typed language. You have less number of rules, and this is something that you should know when you're starting off into JavaScript. Yeah, so this I've already repeated this again and again. So that is about JavaScript. And JavaScript supports all the things that you can do commonly with C and Java, you can do with JavaScript as well. That is, you can write functions in your app to make it repeatable and all that. So you can write functions, you can write classes. It's object oriented as well. So you can do a bunch of things that you do in Java and C, you can do in JavaScript as well. Plus, there is something extra that you may not use immediately, but you need to know about JavaScript, is that it's a very functional programming language. So functional programming is a way of looking at programming. What people teach you in college is called imperative programming, and that is one way of writing programs, but that is not the way of writing programs. So there is another school of writing programs called functional programming, and JavaScript from the start is a functional programming language. You can, when you learn functional programming, you can straight away write, if you know already JavaScript and you are learning functional programming, you can start coding in JavaScript as well. So that is something extra that it offers. That it may sound outlandish at this point for you. It may not be relevant, but I just want you to remember that JavaScript is also a functional programming language. Functional programming helps you to solve very, very big problems rather than what you see in college normally. Solve this algorithm, write an algorithm for search, binary search tree. Those are all small problems to deal with. Okay? There are big problems, system level programming, things like that are solvable by functional programming rather than imperative programming. So I want you to know that JavaScript has something more other than what C and Java can do. It has something extra, which is functional programming. So when you learn functional programming, you can pick up those basics. So the point is right now that however your lecturers may turn down the importance of JavaScript. They say write programs in Java, write programs in C, otherwise I won't give you marks. But they will never say if you don't write programs in JavaScript, I will not give you marks. Nobody is going to care if you write programs in JavaScript or not in college. But in real life, whether you love it or you hate it, you have to learn to live with JavaScript in today's world. And because you are all not for today, you are for the next 25 years, you are going to be working in this industry. And that is why I am saying the statement, love it or hate it, you need to familiarize yourself with JavaScript. And that's going to sail you through your career. At least you should know the fundamentals. So much so that even this presentation that I am showing you, it is not written in PowerPoint. Geeks don't do PowerPoint. Even this presentation is written in JavaScript, and that is the state of JavaScript today. There are n libraries for doing n things in JavaScript. So one of them is that you can even write presentations in JavaScript. So just to show you an example, I thought walk the talk and create this presentation itself in JS. Okay, so all this funda business is very good, but how do you actually, when you write programs, what is the normal consequence of writing a program? Can someone share their experience? Most common consequence when you write a program, hit save, try to run it, what happens? Errors. Is there a programmer who does not face error in this world? No. So you have to learn to deal with errors, always. And sort of going on a philosophical tangent, that's what it is in real life as well. How do you deal with errors in life? So programming also teaches you philosophy, but that's going into tangent, that's not relevant for today. So yeah, so how do you debug programs with Java, written in JavaScript, and that is where something like this will come. That is where you know Chrome browser, right? Is there anyone who doesn't know Chrome browser here, please? Okay, thank God. Everyone knows Chrome browser, everyone knows that it's released by Google. So there's something very fantastic about the Chrome browser is that it gives you a set of tools that will make your life easier as a HTML and JavaScript developer. And so it's called the Chrome Developer Tools, and it's got a bunch of gamut of things that you can do. I'm just going to, okay. So this is the view of the Chrome Developer Tools. You can do a lot of things with the Chrome Developer Tools. There are totally, at least in the view panel, there are 7 tabs in that. So I'm leaving it to you to explore what those 7 tabs do. I'm going to focus on there's something called a console, which is like the killer feature of this Chrome Developer Tools. All other things you can do in various ways using other Firefox browser, but there is a killer feature in Chrome Developer Tools which is called the console, which is like console. Yeah, it gives a console for JavaScript. As I said, JavaScript is more that since it was evolved as a web programming language and to beautify HTML, there is no toolkit before this console for you to say Java, like you do in Java, right? You do Java space something dot Java. You run the interpreted Java program and you run it, and then you can do command line debugging in other languages. Whereas for quite a long time, JavaScript didn't have any debugging or command line tool that you can, dig into your program. Neither did you have any ideas about that you can, or maybe you had, but I didn't know. So this console is what fills in that gap. So here, okay, first let me hit enter. keyboard is not responding for some reason. Yes. If you see, I hit enter. My computer is slow. I just hit enter right now, and you saw this line word undefined over there, which means the screen is a living being. It's not just a thing. So you can do a bunch of stuff with this. So first of all, this is like any other console that you would have. So you can type something like, you can even use it as a calculator. Okay, can you see that? I don't know how to. So you can do a bunch of stuff with this console. You can do like, you know, if you've done Python programming, you know that you have a prompt for Python, and where you can just try out your program. So it's like that. Okay, I'm going off into a tangent right now. So let's try something. How many of you understood that if I'm going to do a bunch of things here, if at any point of time you don't understand anything, I just want you to, it's okay if you're rude, but just stand up and say, listen, stop, this is not, I'm not following. So, do you understand what that is? It's just a simple function, add two numbers. Is that okay? Okay, so it said undefined. That's not a response that I like. So, okay, so now what I've done is I've defined a function called add. Now when I type A, you see the prompt over there? It already understands that there is a function called add, and it's prompting you, do you want to add? Is that what it's asking here? So yeah, so I want to add. Forget it. Okay. So it's something like that. So you can write entire functions over here. You can do a lot of things. Let me quickly open. Let's do this. Let's open the DevFest website, and let's quickly look at the code here. Now, I'm opening a console, and so you saw that? You see this? All this red. It's showing all the errors that are there in the DevFestW page. Okay, Karthik, Jayanthan and Karthik, please don't kill me for this. But this is the sort of thing that console helps you to see. It shows all the errors that are happening in this page, and it shows the file where the code is running into an error, and you can quickly open that file and see. It will take you to that line number, and you can see a bunch of stuff. Okay, so what is that? So this is a very brief overview of what console does, and I just want you to know there's a lot of things that console does, and I'm sort of finding it difficult to articulate, you know, the best things that I can tell you. So in short, the point is that console is a very important tool in your hands that will help you debug and find all the errors that your program is giving and fix them in a very easy way. And by no means is this a tough topic to learn, because there's this developers.google.com where all of what I'm saying is already there, and you can read through in detail about a lot of things that you can do with the console. So this is one of the. So I'm just going to show you the page. So Chrome Developer Tools has an entire web page for itself, which is what I want you to go and dig and find out for yourself. Because there's no way I can do justice to Chrome Developer Tools in half an hour or 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever. So my idea is to give you signboards which you can take so that you can take the right route and learn for yourself. So that's what I intend to do in this talk. So this is one of the URLs, and this is very easy to find on Google search as well. It's okay even if you don't note down the URL, you just search on Google saying Chrome Developer Tools, command line API. You just search for these words and you'll land up on this page, and it tells you in great detail about what are the various functions, what are the various things that you can do. You can look up for IDs in HTML page, you can look up elements, all elements that are images, all elements, stuff like that. You can do a lot of things in that. So this is okay. So what else is so the other? Let me briefly touch upon the other salient things that you will find in the developer console, and then I'll sort of summarize my talk. I think I'm done. So this is one of the tabs called Elements here, where this will show you the entire skeleton of the web page that you're viewing. So you can view the styles that are getting applied, and you can see which section refers to which element on the HTML code. So if you use this guy, this Buddha Kannadi thing, you can, if you click on that, it will take you to that part of the HTML code which relates to this thing. So this is the elements section where you can view the entire source code with annotations. So you can easily navigate through the source code when you're learning, and you can yeah. So I think I sort of shared whatever I wanted to share. So in summary, I want to start summarizing this thing. Is that, and bottom line, you have to learn JavaScript. You don't have a choice if you want to work. Okay. So you have to learn JavaScript, and it's very easy to do so. There are a bunch of resources on the internet, and it's a very easy, good community that is there for JavaScript, and you'll find a lot of people from whom you can learn. A. B. The entry barrier is very low, and it's also a functional programming language. So one day when you grow in your career to become a very senior programmer, and when you solve big problems, JavaScript will still be useful even when you're 5 years or 6, 7 years into your career. So it's good to start early on. And Google has done a fantastic thing by releasing this Chrome Developer Tools, which will help you debug your programs in many ways. So that is in summary of this talk. And what I have done is I sort of done a lot of Googling in the last 2-3 days, and I have collected a bunch of URLs, resources that you can read to dig deeper into this. Because Google search is a huge ocean, and for you to find the right stepping stone is a little time consuming. So I've done a little bit of simplification on that front, and I created a bit.ly link thing that I'll be sharing. I'll see what best way to share this, but I've created a list of resources. So if you follow these resources in the order that they're here, or whatever order you like, you'll be in a good shape to start programming in JavaScript and get started. We'll give you a head start into JavaScript programming. So I'll see how to share this. Yeah. So that is it. This is the end of my talk and the beginning of your journey into JavaScript programming and geekdom in general. So I hope this talk was relevant to you. And my name is, as they said once again, my name is Vatsala, and the easiest way to find me and connect with me is via Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter account, set it up. It's going to help you grow your knowledge. Twitter/Vatsala is where you can find me. I check Twitter more than the number of seconds there are in a day. So I'm always on Twitter, whether I'm there otherwise or not, on email or Skype, whatever. Twitter is the best way to reach me, and I'm more than happy to, guide. Because when I was studying, there was nothing or nobody to show directions. I was disgusted. The day I graduated from college, I was disgusted why I took engineering and computer science. So that was my state. And then I luckily bumped into the Chennai Geeks community, and I was an inquisitive soul myself, and I also bumped into the Chennai Geeks community, and I also set up a Twitter account, and I have indeed gained a lot in the last 4 years just by reading what good people and knowledgeable people tweet. They share a lot, people share a lot of information, and just by reading that, I have gained much. So, in addition to digging around with JavaScript, I want you to go home, set up a Twitter account, and follow some eminent people. And this is also a shameless advertisement for Chennai Geeks community. If you want to learn something good, if you want to improve yourself, join the Chennai Geeks community on Facebook and attend the meetups. And you don't have to do anything extra. Just by coming to those meetups and seeing what other people do, you will learn a lot. So, if you do something else, that's a bonus. So, I conclude my talk here. I hope it was relevant.